Can you see that down on the right side of the screen? Okay, and then otherwise, I'm going to ask you to just keep yourself until we are ready to start taking questions. So we'll just start with a really quick introduction. Leticia or myself. There are a couple of people that I have met, so this is excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. So Leticia, you can go ahead and start.
Well, hi. I see new faces here for me and different names, so that's nice. I guess I'm the newbie on the block here. My name is Leticia Jacquet. I'm a physical therapist specializing in postpartum and pediatric physical therapy and pelvic floor health. I stumbled on this field, I tell you. I had my kids and I realized that I myself couldn't find my pelvic floor. And here I am teaching everyone else the importance of pelvic health and how to find it and how to use it in your everyday life. So we wanted to make this presentation something more, I'm a hands-on learner, so I'm gonna get you guys really involved in placing your hands in different places so that you can just feel where your pelvis is. And this is gonna go ahead and do some exercises so you can really feel what the involvement of your pelvic floor. But if I can give you anything to take away from this presentation, will be just that you're being able to really connect to your pelvic floor and really being able to use it throughout your daily routine. Okay. So I did do some slides, and I thought it was important because I'm also a visual learner, and I learn by seeing and feeling and doing, and then I get that aha moment, and everything seems to click and come together. So I would love to do that with you guys now. Let me see if I can do this properly. Let's see. I'm going to share. My screen is messy. Okay, can you see the screen there? Not yet? Okay, there we go. We're gonna share. Let me put this one down. Oh, you see me moving things around? Not yet? All right, let me see.
No, not yet.
I have it up.
No, not yet.
Okay, why is it not letting, you have to change me as a host?
Oh, are you kidding me? Is that what we have to do?
No, wait, hold on. Let me see. Share here. Share. Oh, we may not have permission to share the screen on your computer. Go to system preferences. Sorry, guys. You can always do this another way too.
Okay, try now.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. This is our first one, so we're
No, it's not letting me do it. It's not. It really isn't letting me do it. That's okay. We don't need it. I do not need that. Because guess what I have in my possession is a pelvic floor model. There's always ways to come back to this. And so what we want to know first and foremost about our pelvic floor is that how it's functioning, right? And so what we need to know is that our pelvic floor helps us provide mobility, supports our pelvic organs inside here. You have your uterus, your bladder, and your rectum. It aids in sexual activity as well. It provides stability. And why I say stability is because it's connected to the spine and your rib cage and your legs and your arms. So basically your thoracic, what we call the thoracic cavity, incorporates all this and allows your arms and your legs freedom of movement, okay? The more stable it is, the more movement you can get from your upper body and your lower body. Your pelvic floor also helps to prevent leakage of urine and bile. And of course, it aids in delivering our babies as well, okay? And so what I want you to take a look at right now is the white sections of this pelvic model, okay? So here we have your pelvic bones. You have 2 of them here, okay? So this is a little bit of anatomy for you. We have in the back your sacrum, right? My coccyx really is not staying attached to my pelvic floor model, so that's another area I want you to get familiar with. Here, I think my sit bones have become very important to me in the last couple of years, okay? Because your sit bones is where we should be carrying all your weight, okay? And so remember I said I like to be very interactive when I teach the pelvic floor and the pelvis, is because some of us don't really know that is capable of moving. So right now, what I like you to do is take your hands and place them on your hip bones. Feel the crest, what we call the crest of your pelvis. That's the important part, okay? And so if I were to take my hands down my waist, I feel my rib cage, I feel some soft tissue, and then I feel a bump. Those bumps here, that's the crest, and you're gonna feel through as it goes all the way around to the front and to the back. As I take my hands towards the back, you're gonna feel these little notches there, and then you're gonna feel your sacrum right along here, okay? So these parts are important. So now if you're sitting as well, I'm gonna have you guys sit, because I want you to find your sit bones. And these are important because the majority of us sit on our sacrum, right? We lean back and we tend to sit, especially now, we go here. That's sitting on your sacrum. So place your hands underneath your bum, right? And feel for those 2 bony notches. Feel how when you move back and forth, they move from your hands and your fingertips, yes? Find where you feel those bony promises right there. Those are your sit bones. And guess what? That's now holding the weight of your upper body. And this is where essentially we are supposed to be sitting on our sit bones, okay? Does that bring an aha moment? Did I just correct some sitting postures there? It's amazing, right? It's totally amazing. And so our bones are held up by ligaments, which is what's another slide that I have. And your ligaments attached to the bones itself, okay? And they help us to support as well. So now we're gonna go into the soft tissue. And the soft tissue is basically just the muscles of the pelvic floor, okay? Now, what we have here, this is the vagina, of course, and there are 3 holes to the vagina. We have the anus. Can you all see that well there? Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm in your screen shot. We have the vaginal opening, and we have the urethra. Now, these 3 holes are important for us, and they're going to be very important for us to find our pelvic floor as well. So I just want you to get orientated about where they are. Now, our pelvic floor is made up of 3 layers of muscle, okay? The first layer here are all these muscles around the bones, around the openings, and around the anus, okay? We can go into so much detail with these muscles, but right now I just want you to know that there's a first layer of muscle. Now the second layer is the hardest to find on this model, but I want you to imagine that there's a muscle around the ring of the opening of the vagina. There's a muscle around the ring of the urethra where our urine comes out of. And then there's muscles that connect what we call the transverse superficial along this area, okay? Those are important too because those activate the closures of those openings, okay? Now, we take the third layer of muscles. And I find these guys to be very important as they are the closest to the contents inside of our pelvic bowl. See that there? So now this muscle, can you see how it looks like a sling? It's almost like a hammock from the pubic bone all the way to the coccyx. And so it wraps around here. It wraps around to close the anal opening, the vaginal opening, and the urethra as well, okay? And so this third layer helps to support all the organs, helps us to find our lift in our pelvic floor as well, okay? And so now I want you to really visualize your openings, okay? And feel what it feels like when we go to the next part of you really finding your pelvic floor, okay? Now let's see if I can guide you through this. So we've heard the big word, Kegels or Kegels, right? Are they bad? No, there was a purpose for them, right? And so if you're online and social media, you're hearing it's not all about the Kegels. And that's right. We can contract our pelvic floor, but that's not the only function of our pelvic floor. It's a muscle. You have the ability to contract it and you have the ability to relax it. Okay. And so those two functions are going to be very important to your pelvic floor. You should be able to contract. You should be able to relax it. It should be able to coordinate with things like sneezing, laughing, right? Or coughing. Those things should be able, your pelvic floor should be able to coordinate with those things. So what I'd like for you to do now is think about those three openings. And I'm going to see if I can give you some cues. I want you to start from the back passage first. Reason being is because it's the largest muscle. So if you're sitting on your sit bones now, and why this is important, is it because it takes the tension off of your pelvic floor. If you're sitting on your sacrum, you start to increase the tension of that pelvic floor because now you're sitting on the sacrum. So I want you to get into that position where you're sitting on your sit bones and feel as if you're trying to hold gas from coming off of your anus, and you're going to feel your butt muscles so as that also squeeze up and in, right? But you want to do it about 10%. So you want to feel the back passage start to close, and then you want to bring it around the front. You should feel the vaginal opening start to close. And as you come closer to the pubic area, your clitoris at the front starts to do a little nod in. And that's the closure of all those three holes. Now, once you found that, you're going to notice that sometimes you find yourself lifting up and in, and that's good, okay? Your contraction should feel as you're able to close around the openings and as well have those muscles bring the pelvic floor up and in, okay? Some visuals that you can tend to take away are, I love a jellyfish, because a jellyfish also shows us how it relaxes the pelvic floor, right? A jellyfish swims and relaxes, swims and lifts up and relaxes, okay? And so something that you want to take away from the pelvic floor contraction is that these three areas should feel as they're closing in on each other, okay? And when you let go, that you should feel a letting go of those sit bones starting to spread apart, right? And moving out towards the sides, okay? If you're sitting on your sit bones, you'll also start to feel that perineum, this soft tissue area, sort of falling into the chair, because now you've got the space to do that, okay? Sitting on a chair is great. If you have a physio exercise ball, that's another place too where you can actually feel that contact of the vaginal openings really lengthening as well. So again, contraction is important as well as the lengthening, okay? So now we found our sit bones. We all found our pelvic floor muscles? Yeah. Awesome. So we've got that down. So there's one other thing that I was hoping to show you on the slide, and that's the importance that we spoke about the thoracic cavity. And what is important is the mechanism of breathing. And I know Liz is going to go through this again, but I wanted to explain it to you prior to you doing the exercise, because I feel once you've heard it a couple of times, it will connect to other exercises. And so breathing. The mechanism for our breathing is that our diaphragm and our pelvic floor are connected, okay? And so when we take a deep inhale, our pelvic floor releases as our diaphragm contracts, okay? So our diaphragm is here along this way here. And when I take a deep inhale in, it contracts down, right? Entering into the abdominal cavity. But in order for this cavity to sustain pressure for stability and movement, something has to happen to the pelvic floor. And that something is the lengthening of your pelvic floor. So I inhale, I lengthen through my pelvic floor, and I exhale, my pelvic floor contracts, and my diaphragm recoils back up. So it's almost like a piston movement of it moving up, moving down, and up in this movement, down and up, okay? And it's important to know this for when you're lifting things that are heavy. And if all of you are Advent exercisers, or you tend to need to lift things heavy, being able to exhale on those heavy lifts is just as important as your posture, right? And your mechanics, okay? And so with that said, I'm gonna have Liz go in, because she's gonna actually bring you through some functional exercises now, and putting some of these things that you've learned already. You found your sit bones, you found your pelvic floor, you've also found that there is a breathing component between the exercises that she's going to do today, okay? And so if I can charm in, if I see her doing some exercises, I might tell you where you want to inhale and exhale on these exercises. All right, Liz.
All right, can you guys hear me? So I'm going to talk slowly since there is that delay. So if you would like to join me and just have a seat. And if your camera is off, no pressure, you don't have to turn it back on. But if you would like some help going through this or some cues, Leticia will guide you as I do the exercise. So you're gonna sit and you're gonna find your sit bones, and I just want your knees and feet hip distance apart. Okay, now I want you to feel where your rib cage is in line with your hips. So this is kind of hard if you're not used to finding it, so just do the best that you can. So if you do feel like you're leaning slightly forwards, try to get yourself stacked. Or if you feel like you're leaning back a little bit, again, try to get yourself forwards. Get yourself back in the first position. So you'll feel more pressure on your sit bones when your rib cage is aligned. Okay, so you're going to inhale, and with that inhale, you're going to think about spreading your sit bones. Like Leticia was saying, you should actually feel your perineum, if you can imagine where that is, pushing down into your chair, into your seat. Okay, so you're going to inhale, spread those sit bones. Now, as you exhale, I want you to think about letting your sit bones rise off of the chair. Okay, we're going to do a few different cues in this breathing. So now, as you inhale, I want you to think about inhaling into your holes. Why did that just cut off? Did my mic just cut off?
We can hear you, but the echo is gone.
The echoes.
At least for me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, and the echo is gone.
Yeah, the echo just went away. Yay!
Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Now we're having my video.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, so you're inhaling into your holes. And then as you exhale, again, I want you to hold the bones in and together. Okay, now we're gonna inhale into the holes again. And as you exhale, Liam, you're drawing up. Okay, so we'll do 2 more breaths here. Different. As you inhale, I want you to think about your vagina. That flower is opening. It's spreading out. It's spreading out. And then as you exhale, I want you to think about closing that flower. Can you guys all hear me? Oh, question. Okay. Awesome.
So I'm
Go ahead,
curious, it seems like the echo went away and then you, like right now it's not happening, but then it came back, and I'm wondering if whatever device where you thought we couldn't hear you, we could actually hear you best then. I don't know what that device was that got turned off for you, but for us that improved.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it might be I think it might be mine. I think you're gonna be okay. It might be mine. Let's try that again.
Can you hear me? Is there an echo?
There's no echo.
Okay, so it was coming through the other computer. Okay, thank God.
Okay.
All right, so we left off with the flower. So let's go back and revisit the bean. So imagine now that you're sitting on a bean, okay, and it's right at your vagina opening, okay? So not the urethra, not your anus, right in the vagina opening. You're gonna inhale, let those sit bones spread, feel the perineum push into your chair. Exhale, pull that bean up through your vagina, and then hold it here just for a second. Simultaneously now, think about a zipper from your pubic bone to your belly button. My clients hear this cue all the time. It's my favorite cue. So hopefully that helped. Okay, so now, don't worry if you feel like this isn't making sense. We're gonna breathe in 3 different positions. So now I'm gonna get you guys standing up, okay? So sometimes when you don't necessarily feel your pelvic floor, you can feel that you're contracting to your transverse abdominis. And when you contract those, the pelvic floor is definitely contracting too. So now you're gonna place your hands on the sides of your rib cage, and we're gonna do something called 360-degree breath. So you're going to inhale literally 360, right? So you're gonna inhale into your stomach a little bit, then try to guide that breath into the sides of the rib cage and the back of the rib cage, okay? So it's a big expansion all around, and hopefully you do feel your stomach pop forwards a little bit, okay? But I also wanna make sure you're feeling that breath in the ribs, okay? And then just go ahead and exhale. Let's do that breath 2 more times. So you're gonna inhale into your belly, inhale into the sides of the rib cage and the back of the rib cage, and then go ahead and exhale. 1 more time, just feel that inhale, 360 degrees around. And then go ahead and exhale. Now let's connect to the pelvic floor more, or rather the transverse abdominis. So now I want you to place your hands just on the side of your body. I want you to bring bring the palm of your hands on your waistline, and then your fingertips kind of like just in the front of the muscles on the outside of the belly button. So inhale, feel that belly expand, feel the breath go to the back of the rib cage, and then as you exhale, think about giving yourself a hug through your belly. So it's like you're pulling your belly button towards your spine. That's 1 cue for this. Okay, now let's take that deep breath in again. And then here's another cue. As you exhale, I want you to imagine that you're wearing a corset. and I'm behind you, just gently pulling that corset in a little bit tighter. Okay, last cue in standing. You're gonna inhale again, 360-degree breath. As you exhale, again, think about that zipper from your pubic bone to your belly button. And so when you do that zipper, you should feel not only that you're kind of zippering those muscles up, but they're also pulling in. So that's kind of where the belly button cue comes in to play, because you feel the belly button pulling closer to your spine. Okay, so now we're going to lie down on the ground. All right, so now we're gonna do a couple of exercises. We're gonna get beyond the breathing. We're still gonna do a little more breath work, and then we're gonna move on. Okay, so first, I want you to find your neutral spine. So neutral spine means that your hips and your rib cage are in alignment, and you have this natural curve in your back. So you actually wanna go with that curve in your back on the ground. Now, I want you to place the heels of your hands on your hip bones, okay? And then bring your fingertips down towards your pubic bone to kind of make a triangle with your hips here, okay? Now, I want you to look up and take note of where your hips are. So if your fingertips are down, you're arching your back more than we want you to. If your thumbs are down, you're pushing your back into the mat more than we want you to, okay? Your fingertips and your thumbs should be in a nice flat line. So if we were to put a tray of hot cups of coffee on your hips, you would not spill them, okay? So keep your hands there. Now I want you to inhale. You're gonna do that same 360-degree inhale. And then in this position, as you exhale, think about that zipper from your pubic bone to your belly button and see what happens. What should not happen is that your back flattens out, okay? So sometimes people think they're connecting, but they're doing this, and they're not connecting to their pelvic floor so much. You're drawing in other muscle groups that we actually don't want you to connect to your deep inner core, okay? So now we're gonna do what's called a pelvic clock. So you're gonna find that nice flat pelvis again, okay? Now you're gonna inhale, and on the exhale, you're going to think about pushing your pubic bone down towards the mat. So it's like you're trying to arch your back, but I don't want you to use any other muscles, not your shoulders, not your legs. It's very, very subtle. So what I used to tell my clients is, I might not even see you move, and that's okay, okay? All you should be trying to feel is that what Leticia was saying in the beginning, your clitoris is kind of pulling down now, down or up. You can think inside of you, okay? Down towards your anus now, okay? All right, now we're gonna come back to neutral. We're gonna go the opposite way. And this one's usually easy for people, but guys, try not to use your feet, okay? So you're gonna inhale. And now as you exhale, I want you to think about, again, I like the zipper here because you're going to try to flatten out your back just using those pelvic floor muscles to get there. Okay, now let's inhale and relax, come back to that neutral pelvis. Now I want you to take 2 fingers, okay, and you're gonna put them right on your hip bones. You're gonna go 2 inches in from that point and find the muscle here, okay? Now, you're going to inhale, and as you exhale again, try to use whatever cue works best for you. Zipper, you're pulling that bean up. Now I want you to think about pushing your right hip down gently into the mat. So that left hip just rises a little bit, okay? Inhale, come back to neutral pelvis. And then as you exhale, we're gonna go the opposite way. So your left hip is gonna push down a little bit, and your right hip is gonna gently rise. And now you will come back to neutral. So pelvic clock, why is that important? Because you're learning about where all the different muscles are in your pelvis, how they're gonna work and come together, and now how you're gonna create stability. So if that was like too much, don't worry. This takes a long time to teach to people. So next, we are going to do foot slides. So I want you to keep that neutral pelvis. Keep your hands in that nice triangle down on your pelvis, okay? Inhale into the rib cage again. As you exhale, give me that zipper from your pubic bone to your belly button. Find that connection, and then slowly just slide your right foot away from your body and take note as to what happens, okay? If your right hip dropped down, we're not finding the connection enough, all right? Bring it back in. Inhale. As you exhale, find that zipper, slowly slide the left foot out and pull it back in. Now we're just gonna do one more each foot, and I'm gonna give you a different cue. Inhale into the rib cage. Feel that 360-degree breath. Now, think about drawing all four corners of your pelvis that we talked about into the center. So the pubic bone is rising up, the hips are pulling in together, and you're going to send your right foot out and bring it back in. And last time here, inhale into the ribs again. And then as you exhale, now keep your fingers on the muscles of your pelvis. I want you to literally feel those muscles get nice and tight. Extend the left leg out and come back in. Okay, so now we're gonna feed off of the last cue that I just did. So if foot slides was hard enough, you can continue to do that exercise, but if you wanna bring it up a notch, we're gonna do marching. So take your fingers, bring them on your hip bones again. Find that muscle, okay? Inhale into the rib cage. As you exhale, I want you to feel the muscles in that pelvic area flatten as if you're trying to spread your hip bones apart now, so you feel that deep connection. Now you're going to slowly bring one knee up so that your knee is in line with your hip, okay? Inhale again. And as you exhale, make that connection, bring the left leg up, and you should not have felt like your hips did anything. They should have remained totally still, okay? Now, inhale, hold this connection. As you exhale, you're going to slowly lower your right foot down, just tap the floor, bring the legs back up. I'm gonna change your breathing just a little bit. You're gonna inhale into the ribs. You're going to exhale, think about that zipper from the pubic bone to the belly button. Hold it, lower the leg down, and bring it back up, okay? Inhale into the ribs. Exhale, give me that zipper or your flower. Lower the right foot down, tap the floor. Nothing shifted in the hips. Bring it back up. Okay, one more time. Inhale into the ribs. Exhale again. You're pulling a bean up through your vagina. Hold that. Lower the left foot down, tap the floor. Good. Bring both legs down and rest. Okay. I'm gonna actually just pop in and break my own rule. So far, does anyone have any questions? Because I just gave you like a lot of different ways of thinking about this. No questions? Cool. Okay, good. Question? Okay. All right. So we're going to keep going. So now we're going to do what's called the 100 in Pilates. So the whole point of the 100 is to figure out how you breathe and hold the connection at the same time. Okay. So we're going to just go back into this tabletop position, is what your knees bent in are called. All right. I want you to bring your hands down by your sides. You're going to inhale in that neutral spine position. As you exhale, think about that zipper from your pubic bone to your belly button. Bring your right foot up. Now, pause here a second. I want you to inhale just into the sides and the back of the rib cage. All right, so you're not going to let your belly expand so much now with the breath. And then as you exhale, slowly bring the left leg up, okay? Now we're going to hang out here just for a second. Bring your fingers just of one hand on your belly button, okay? Bring the other hand on the rib cage. You're going to inhale, and again, feel the rib cage expand side to side and feel the breath in the back of the rib cage. But I don't want you to feel that your belly popped forwards, all right? And then you're going to exhale. Keep that zipper, okay? Inhale again. Now on the exhale, we're going to knit our rib cage together. Think about pulling the rib cage in. You're going to slowly bow forwards into a crunch. If you feel this in your neck, you're just gonna rest your head back down and keep your head down for now, okay? We are going to vigorously pump the arms up and down, but as you do this, everything else in your body remains still. You're going to continue to inhale just into the ribs and to the back of the rib cage, not letting the belly rise and expand, okay? And then with every exhale, you're thinking about zippering up deeper and deeper. So that zipper is going from the pubic bone to the belly button, from the pubic bone to the ribs, deeper every time. So we're going to inhale and exhale. Inhale into the ribs. Exhale, zipper up. We're just going to do 2 more breaths. Inhale into the ribs. Exhale, zipper up. 1 more time. Inhale into the ribs. And exhale, zipper. And lower everything down and rest. Okay.
Can I add a cue for that one too? What made it easy for Liz, I believe too, is that she was talking through the whole movement. And that's the important part of your breath work with when you're exercising. And so what we have, sometimes we have a tendency to hold our breath during those hardest points of the movement. But notice she was talking throughout the whole movement while she kept her abdominal muscles still engaged. And that's the important part of as well of keeping that inter-abdominal pressure balanced so that we're not adding too much pressure along to our pelvic floor or to the back of our spines or to the front of our abdomen if they're still weak, right? And so that was just a beautiful example. I just wanted to touch on that because sometimes what we tend to see is the pulling of the neck. And then if we're holding our breath, we're like, and you can see all these muscles start to just really come up in. And so the modifications are there so that you can build the load, you can build the strength towards each load. All right, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm glad you said that because that was something that she really helped me with was counting out loud, right? So I'm so used to just talking through things, but when I went to see Leticia, she did tell me, okay, now I want you to count to 10 as you're doing this. And I forget to tell my clients that sometimes, so that's a really good reminder. Because yeah, that does help you continue to make sure that you're inhaling and exhaling. All right, so everyone's gonna stand up. We're just gonna do one more thing. So we're gonna apply this to something that maybe makes a little bit more sense to your everyday life. So the other exercises are to get you to find that connection, hopefully to increase the strength there. Now, we're just gonna do either a reverse lunge, so you can either move with me with that, or you can step back and you're gonna hold this split stance and just sink down and up. If you need to hold on to something, that's totally fine, okay? If you prefer to do a squat because lunge doesn't work for you, or if something's going on with your knees, you can either squat or you can kind of push your butt back again if there is something going on with the knees and just not go too low. But the point of this now is to think about it in your standing positions and if you were to pick something up from the ground, right? So you're going to inhale again. It's kind of now like you're taking a quick sip of air in through your nose to feel the expansion through the ribs. And then as I step back, I'm going to zipper and exhale at the same time. So the exhale is kind of happening through the whole movement, and I'm able to keep this connection. So again, I'm going to take a quick sip of air in through my nose. I'm going to exhale, zipper. Yep, good. So now, let's go back just quickly and say one thing that Leticia was talking about is your breath and your connection match the load of what you're doing. So if you're picking up a pencil from the ground, you don't even want to think about the pelvic floor, right? We want it to just kind of kick in like semi-naturally because that's like nothing. If you're picking up something heavier, you need to focus more on that connection. So I would inhale at the bottom here, and then I'm going to zipper up, start my exhale, lift what I'm lifting, and I'm connected all through my core. I'm going to finish with just one more quick little thing. So this is something I found that it was decent. I tried it out. It's kind of helpful if you're really questioning, like, am I feeling my pelvic floor? This is called an educator. I think it was like 20 bucks on Amazon. This is what it looks like. You insert this portion into the vagina, and then this will move down if you're actually contracting properly. If you have questions and you're curious about this, just let me know. But this is just one quick little thing, that tool, that if you're really questioning, like, okay, am I doing this correctly? How can I know? That's one way to help yourself. And Leticia actually does have another manual way of doing that. So I'm going to mute myself, and you can on that.
Yes. Okay. Is this better now, or you still hear the echo?
No, it's good.
I don't hear the echo.
Oh, perfect. Okay, perfect. I had to put my B-boy headphones on, guys. Sorry. Born and raised in New York City. This is how we go. And so what I sent you in your chat is a link of a PDF as well, to also check your pelvic floor muscles. As a pelvic health physical therapist, and as someone who had received the services myself, it was awkward. I will admit, it was awkward seeing a pelvic physical therapist. These are my lady parts, you know. There's a few people I like looking down there too, so I get it. And so what I wanted to do was at least bring some sense of awareness, so that if you said, well, this is not happening, maybe I need extra help. And that's why I love to come in to give the extra help as well. But what you can do, and I'm going to tell you what I do in my evaluations, right? In terms of the exam part, we observe first the connection that you're making with your pelvic floor. And so this is something that is hands off, and I'm basically really looking at your vaginal area to see how they're connecting. And so I would like for you, when you have the time, is to look yourselves, right? Is to take a mirror and face the mirror towards yourself and take some deep breaths, right? And contract your muscles. And so what you want to observe in your mirror is that you can see the closure of the anus happening, as well the closure of these muscles happening as well. And take notes of that, okay? What you want to see on that exhale is that these rings start to close. And what you want to see on your inhale, they tend to push out very gentle. It's not a forceful, although we do have you do a bearing down motion, because we want to see that you can connect to your pelvic floor that way too, because that function is important in your bowel and bladder habits, right? We have to go to the toilet, and we don't think about pushing stool, because your abdomen and your pelvic floor are supposed to be abdomen contracts to help the rectum, while your pelvic floor muscles are relaxed to let it evacuate that area. So the first thing is you're going to take a look with your mirror. Okay. The second thing that I'd like you to do is get a feel for what's happening in this area. Palpate. That's just a medical term for saying touch. Touch. If you feel that you have any pains or any tender points, jot that down, because that's important to know. As much as we want our pelvic floor to contract, they can be over contracting. We hold stress, especially in the last 3 years, in different places. Some hold them in their shoulders, some hold them up in their chest, in the abdomen, and some hold them in their pelvic floor. So that's something important to note, okay? And so the next thing is to do your self-test. And so during an evaluation with a gloved finger, we take some lubricant, gloved finger, and I'm assessing all those 3 layers for you. We're assessing, can you close just the opening of the vaginal area? Remember that first layer of muscles here. Are they contracting enough to give you some closure? Then we go ahead and touch and actually assess the second layer of muscles. Is that closing? The third layer is you're putting your finger all as far as you can, about the third knuckle, and see, can I close around my finger? Okay. And some things that we will sense is whether or not, can we feel the full ring close? Can you feel the full closure around the vaginal opening? Okay. And that's something to note as well. Can you relax totally that pelvic floor? And that's another thing to note. Okay. Another observation that you can do is cough and see what happens to your pelvic floor. The natural way for our pelvic floor to work is as we cough, our pelvic floor muscles should contract or sustain a hold, right? Because in that effort, it's holding the bowel, the bladder, and the consonants. So sometimes what happens is you may cough, you may laugh, you might do some very high impact exercises and may experience leaking, right? But that's something to know, and that's not normal. That's a pelvic floor issue that should be seen and taken care of right away. Okay, because there's ways, once you've connected to this area, there's ways for you to strengthen if you need to strengthen. There's ways for you to relax if you need to relax the pelvic floor as well. Okay, and so we have the coordination, was that what we call the knack. It's a cough and just really observing what's happening in that pelvic floor. And the last thing I believe I had on your is the functional assessment part. Now, this is something I don't want you doing all the time, okay? And you've may heard this before, and this is as you're going to use the bathroom, can you stop your urine? Okay? And I say this is just, let me see, because it's not something that I want you to do often as an exercise, because then you can confuse your bladder. Okay, because the bladder has a tendency to have a mind of its own too. Okay, and so your frequencies may be a door opening or the water turning on, and those are triggers for you to go to the bathroom. But that's all behavioral stuff that we also talk about during your pelvic floor evaluation. Okay, and we try to weed things out for you in that aspect. Okay, and so these are some of the things that in that handout you can go ahead and give a self-assessment. I also added a screening tool for you, asking you some questions in that screening tool. If you have any pelvic floor issues, you want to have less than one or two of those things on the list, okay? But know that in our area, there are pelvic floor physical therapists. Also on my website, I have a link to book a discovery call as well. And so if you want to have a conversation, if anything that you're feeling, or you just want to get assessed, I recommend you do it. I have 2 daughters, and this is my plug. I do not want them to become adults and say, oh, I didn't know about that service. I didn't know pelvic peeing and leaking was just normal for women. The percentage of women in members in nursing homes are females because of urinary incontinence. Just going to let you know that right now. We are the highest number of residents in nursing homes, and it's not because of dementia, and it's not because of any other mental situation. It's because of urinary incontinence, and some loved ones may not be able to help us along the way as we age. Okay, and so that's a really deep plug for me. I want to be able to make this area known that it's a muscle. As Liz was able to teach you how to use it, as we were able to connect to it, you have voluntary control of it, but it is supposed to do its thing too. Okay, it's not, these activities is not there for you to constantly be thinking about it. And I think Liz and I talked about too. It's like, am I always supposed to contract now for the rest of my life? Like, no, but if we do the work now, that early intervention, then we're going to see the results later in life as well.
Right. I'm just going to interject there. Yeah. So, right. So it's important to understand how to connect to them so that you can strengthen them. And then it just becomes second nature, something that you don't have to think about, and maybe unless you're lifting something super heavy. But I want to stop with us talking and take some questions if anybody has any. If you don't, we'll keep talking for a little longer.
Is
Yep,
it
Karen,
ever,
go ahead.
is it ever too late to, like you mentioned, older women in nursing homes, like if there are older women with incontinence problems, is it like too late at that point, or to, practice this or learn?
It's never too late. It's never too late. As females, we already know that our hormones are working big time on our bodies, and we have all this information about estrogen, the progesterone, and estrogen is also what helps to keep our pelvic floor muscles really strong as well. Okay. But because we've had modern medicine and technology, it all depends on where you're coming from, right? What's your level of severity in terms of these issues that you're having? We have things like biofeedback, electrical stimulation. Those, if there's any type of situation that is more foregoing where we need extra help in physically feeling a pelvic floor, these things are put in place to help you connect, right? Or we have devices like the pelvic wand that also vibrate to help you bring the information to this area, because there are many nerves in this area. Okay. And so activities like stretching, activities like connecting to your pelvic floor are important to this area, because we need to bring that stimulation and let these pelvic floor muscles know that they're still there. So physical activity is always going to be very important in your daily routine, in keeping with the stretches, in keeping with connecting to your pelvic floor. And that's why I said you don't need to over connect, but you need to connect. But it's not too late.
Client now, Karen, who has been with me for a long time, and she's older and she is just now figuring it out. But you know, it's been the same talking and cues for years. So it maybe takes focus and attention and time a little bit too, and patience. But any other questions? No questions? Okay, I'm going to quickly just jump in since I didn't give my intro in the beginning for anyone who doesn't know me. I've been a personal trainer for, I forget how old I am these days, for like 13 years, and teaching Pilates for 13 years and doing Pilates since high school. And that was just what taught me to connect to my pelvic floor. And then when I became pregnant, I went to see Leticia, and that just put everything on like a big, wow, I want to learn even more and more and more as much as I can. So that's my quick plug. I think we're going to email you guys this recording, and we are also going to email you how to get in touch with us if you would like to. And am I forgetting anything else? Any other questions? If you would like to see anything else in the future, or if you have a good takeaway for us or any feedback, please let us know. We would definitely like to do this again, or let us know what you would like to see. Okay.
Oh, I'd love to hear any 3 takeaways from this workshop. Amber, would you like to tell us what you got out of the workshop?
Yes, and I have a question. Yeah.
I'm going to cut out, I think, on my screen at least.
Oh, my internet connection is really bad. Sorry.
We've got you now.
Oh,
That's okay.
okay. That's my question. Just like, I'm in Florida. Like, who would I look for? Like, how would I find a pelvic floor specialist?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to put a website in here. Pelvic Guru. It's a very good site to find pelvic floor physical therapists in your area. Okay, pelvicguru.com has a directory, as well as www.hermanandwallace.com is also a directory that has physical therapists, a pelvic floor physical therapists in multiple areas. Okay. Just know that this is a very good question. There, as a PT, you can either be seen through telehealth as well, as long as your therapist is licensed in the state that you live in, basically. So as long as some therapists have dual licensures, if it's North Carolina, Florida, you may be able to see someone that also can see you telehealth-wise, as long as they're licensed in your state, okay? And know that you have direct access in many states, being that you can have a pelvic floor or a physical therapy evaluation without a referral, but you will probably need a referral for ongoing treatments. I think for Connecticut here, if we have ongoing 5 sessions, or if you need any more, then we need a referral from the physician. But your first evaluation no referral is necessary because we have direct access here. And I believe Florida is direct access as well.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right. Guys, this was great. We're going to let you go. But again, I will be emailing you. And so any questions you have, feel free to respond to the email. And I hope this was helpful. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.
Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you guys for showing. Thank you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.